Because, I mean, it obviously works pretty well because Doug used it to create an entirely insane video of rock, paper, scissors. It seemed to work pretty well. But the problem is with vibe coding specifically is, one, you're going to get a lot more script kiddies who can do a lot more fucking damage really, really fucking quickly. Then you're going to get a lot of people who just forget how to code, which may or may not be a problem in the future. But if something really goes wrong with AI and you have no idea how to code around it, you're going to have problems.
We need to talk about AI agents, software agents, little guys that live on your computer and do things for you, like Claude Code. Claude lives in your terminal and can automatically run commands, read and write files.
Claude Code is pretty interesting. I don't use it often, at least not on this system, but it is pretty interesting.
And generate and execute code. It is code that writes code. Here is Claude trying to make a piece of generative art fully autonomously. And here it is filling up my hard drive with a self-replicating script, effectively AI-generated malware. Fun! In this video, we'll be doing some vibe coding, which is an annoying new buzzword that basically means you let the AI write all of the code for you. So don't worry if you don't know anything about programming, that's the whole point. This game, for instance, went super viral on Twitter for being vibe coded in 30 minutes and is now making 500 trillion a month. Wow.
What? That's obviously a fucking lie, but I mean, 500 trillion a month? I mean, it kind of looks like a fun game to play, though.
The quality is incredible. It is.
I mean, okay, when you think of quality for like games and shit, a lot of people would play these games versus a AAA game, just not to have to deal with things like DLCs and loot boxes and shit.
Truly one of the best games I have ever played. It's so unique and well crafted, especially the sound design. It's not AI slop at all. I was able to play for a whole 30 seconds before
Wow. Hey, should we play this game on stream?
That is one big pile of shit.
Okay, it's not that bad. I've made worse, and it's kind of cool that it was AI generated, but the fact that it has more ads than a mobile game just shows...
Oh, it does have ads? I don't see any ads on here. I mean, that's genius, though, to put, like, so many stupid ads in the middle of this.
Is that the focus is clearly on making money by driving hype, rather than actually making a good game. Ironically, what's so off about this AI slop is the vibes. The vibes are all wrong. There's no polish, the sound is awful, the controls are clunky, the aesthetic is ugly.
Okay, so but I think that's the biggest problem, though. A lot of people don't care about all the little perfections in games. Some do, absolutely. Unfortunately, those people are usually the critics who are bashing the games in the first place. But there are plenty of games I play that got like 2-star reviews and shit, and I still play them because they're fun. At least to me, even if it crashes every 4 minutes. But that's the thing for a lot of games. Like a lot of people, I only consider a game a failure if you don't break even.
So many edge cases are untested. But the last thing I want to do is discourage people from making things, even if they suck. This game can absolutely be improved, and it has inspired lots of people to...
Well, yeah, so for instance, this was coded in 30 minutes with vibe coding, right? Well, what if you spent 2 weeks on it? Even vibe coding. You could still make insane, massive changes to the game. You'd just be like, all right, as it stands, it's garbage. But what was one tweak we can have the game change, right?
The vibe code all kinds of things that otherwise wouldn't exist at all. And
exactly.
That's cool. So in this video, I want to try vibe coding something myself and show what works well and what can go wrong.
I think the biggest problem, though, is like this guy, for instance, is most likely an actual legitimate coder, which means nothing will ever be perfect. But like a good example of someone who actually does vibe coding that's actually kind of fun is Doug. Doug did that vibe coding with the rock, paper, scissors thing. And he's like, all right, well, I mean, he's like, it's working. He's like, I wouldn't have chosen to do this necessarily, but it's technically working.
Feel free to skip around. At the end of the video, I will give my final review and recommendations on vibe coding. I am not sponsored by any of these AI companies. This is an honest review of their products. I know other developers have given their views on some of these hyped up tools, and they're far more experienced programmers than me. but I have a decade of programming experience. I've worked with lots of different languages and lots of different environments on lots of different teams.
I have some programming experience, primarily in Python, and I don't use it often. So, so yeah, this is going to be interesting.
I'm not the best programmer in the world, but I am definitely the second best. We're going to start with Cursor, a code editor based on VS Code with lots of souped-up AI tools. It's basically the same thing as GitHub Copilot, though I think it's generally been more at the cutting edge. It has autocomplete, but also a built-in AI chat window here. I will be using Google's Gemini 2.5 Pro in agent mode. As an agent, it can decide which files to read, it can edit multiple files at once, and it can run console commands with your permission. It's a bit of a stretch to call it an agent, but I think that...
I mean, okay, this is all new shit, by the way. Within the last, 6 months, have they really started doing AI assisted programming. But the amount of changes in 6 months is ridiculous. What's this going to look like in 5 years?
It will make more sense later in the video. We're starting with a clean, empty folder, and we'll be building a very simple website, just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. We're making a version of a well-known program called Langton's Ant, which I will explain more about as we build it. So here's the basic workflow. You prompt the agent to do something, it takes a minute to think, to look around, and to generate the code. It then proposes changes which you can review and accept or...
I wonder if this would be a good way for people to learn the code, or really fix the code that they are breaking. So for instance, there's a few websites that actually really help with Python, which names I'm forgetting. Damn it. I should have a list of all these fucking places. But, yeah, I wonder if you could use it to help you learn. Probably, maybe not fix my problem, more of tell me where the problem is and can you explain why it's wrong? I think that would be really helpful for a lot of new programmers, just for the fact that they wouldn't have to go waste their teacher's time. And they still get the problem fixed potentially, but you can only ask it questions on why it's wrong and maybe how to fix it, but it won't fix it for you. If you put those limitations into a programming guide, or there's a lot of random programming, learn to program, not bots, but programs on the internet that you can subscribe to, I guess. I bet you that would work really well if you could ask it why it's wrong, but maybe not.
Reject. I will not be reviewing changes. I'm just going to accept whatever it gives me and only test it afterwards. I'm just using Control-Enter to accept everything. I want the code to be 100% AI generated.
Okay, but the problem with that line of thinking, though, is most of the time, even when you're doing it yourself, you'd be testing it. So you'd be testing each time and then going back and then making adjustments, right? Most of the time, that's how people would do this. So I would assume you would do the same with AI in most cases, right? Okay, so hallucinations are happening less, though. They were horrible a year and a half ago. They were awful. Hallucinations are happening less and less and less. And the speed at which things are improving is monumental. It's like arguing the concept of that stupid Neobot, right? Even if it doesn't work right now, it will within the next couple of years based off of how quickly AI is improving.
And I'm going to do my best to
even if it's not
make
Neo,
it
can be any other random fucking company.
I think this first try is a perfectly correct version of Langton's Ant, which is not really that impressive because it's a famously simple program. It's a grid of black and white cells on which lives an ant. The ant has a direction, and based on the color of the cell that it's currently on, it can decide to turn left or right, and also change the color of the cell, like it's leaving pheromone trails.
I don't know if I've ever done this one.
The rules for Langton's ant are,
so.
If it's white, change it to black and turn right. If it's black, change it to white and turn left. And that's it. It's super simple to program, yet produces some interesting emergent behavior, which we'll see more of later. It's perfect for AI programming. It's very simple, it's very easy to verify, and most importantly, it's well represented in the training data. And that is what AI is best at, making stuff that it's seen a million times before, stuff that already exists. And that's
why Nano Banana works so well when it comes to removing single items from something or adding a single item in. But it doesn't do really well when adding hundreds of items or even 3 items.
Can be kind of boring and frustrating. Typically, you want to make something new, something that doesn't already exist. A trick to getting outside the box is to start with something that exists or is easy to make, but then you change things, and change them again, and again, and again. Change the style, change the rules, add new features, remove features, add new...
I would laugh if this game could, or this thing could like recreate the entire game Fez. Because if you've never looked into the story of that game company, or primarily the CEO of that game company, that guy is a fucking raging lunatic. Actually, we should do a deep dive into that guy. the downfall of the creator of Fez. His name is like his last name or something like that is like Fish. Like Phish or something like that. I can't remember exactly what his name is, but he's like insane.
Dimensions, do the exact opposite, flip it all on its head, whatever you want. Step by step, you can inch your way outside of the box to make something somewhat new. So, for instance, what I'm trying to do here is make Langton's ant more interactive and customizable, so you can zoom in and move around and control the speed, and I'll be adding more features to control the simulation. Because AI has such broad knowledge on so many basic things, it can be quite good at this. You can have it change the colors, then add a zoom feature, then add a pan feature, then add a control panel, etc., etc. And these are all easy, straightforward web dev.
The cool thing about this stuff is you can use it to streamline a bunch of shit. So if you're creating an app or just a programmer in general that you just need to create some basic things for it. Yeah, Phil Fish, there we go. That guy is insane. You should look up Phil Fish, either deep dive or drama. And there's like some crazy shit with that guy.
Stuff. And this is, broadly speaking, the way I like to program myself. Start small and simple, get it working, then modify it, test it, make sure it's still working, modify, test, on and on, building it up incrementally while keeping it functional all the way through. And this particular environment is especially easy for AI. It's a very simple, self-contained, static website. HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, the holy trinity.
I think a lot of people, when they have programming issues or just prompt issues in general when they're talking with AI, is they try to get it to do way too many things all at once within like a single prompt. And the main reason that people do this is it saves them money, because each prompt or whatever you happen to be doing is generally like a set amount of credits for a lot of sites and things like that. And the more you can cram into one prompt, the more you'll get out of it and the more money you'll save, because these things are not necessarily, super cheap or anything, right? But the problem with that is you start getting wildly unhinged, broken shit, and people are like, well, this just doesn't work, and then they give up on it. When if you change a single item, that's why when I use the editors on Encanto, Envato, I specifically use the editor that gives me unlimited credits, whereas I don't use my video editors unless I have a very specific thing I need to do, because I only have 15 credits a month for that. Otherwise, I have to pay more, and I'm not going to pay more for something that costs me $200 a year anyway.
No backend, no server, no frameworks, just as God intended. I actually, unironically, love JavaScript, vanilla JavaScript. This is because I am clinically insane. This, by the way, is what makes Langton's ant interesting. After about 11,000 steps, it gets stuck in this loop where it builds this structure outwards forever, what they call a highway. After thousands of steps of seemingly random nonsense, order eventually emerges. Pretty cool for such a simple program. I've been curious about Langton's ant for a while, and this is my excuse to explore it. I want to see what other things you can get these ants to do if you try different rules, or add different colors, or add more ants. We'll get there. But for now, we gotta fix this bug. I have to copy and paste the error from the console to the chat window. This seems like something that could be eventually automated. You could plug the program output directly into the conversation, and it would respond to errors without any human intervention. For now, cursor agents require human intervention, human prompting, human feedback.
Right. Well, this is still like relatively like new, right?
To avoid the slop problem, I am taking my sweet time polishing the core of the simulation and ironing out the rough edges of the user interface, like making the grid fit the window and getting rid of these faint grid lines. These were surprisingly difficult to do.
Oh.
I am vibe debugging, I guess, which kind of feels like blind debugging. I don't really know what the code is doing or what to fix, I just know it doesn't look good. And sometimes I have to ask the AI over and over to solve the same problem. It kind of feels like I'm begging for it to do.
Yeah, so right now, the biggest problem with vibe coding is unless you need so like I would use vibe coding specifically for creating like out the layout and things like that, but maybe not like the full internal stuff. I think the bigger problem people have with vibe coding is security problems. So wasn't there like there's like a chat program that was recently, it was like it allowed women to basically create lists of like terrible dates and shit guys, and then but the problem is it required them to upload their ID and like a picture of themselves to the website for verification that was supposed to be deleted within like 30 minutes, but for some reason it was never deleted, so it linked not only their photo ID, their address, and their location to this website, but the website had no the app had no security in it because it was vibe coded without security, and it was hacked. I'm like, no shit. I think it was called what was like the T app or something like that. It was just like this insanely stupid convoluted thing, and that's exactly the problem with a lot of the vibe coding is a lot of people who are coding these apps have zero programming knowledge at all and don't know about, prepping things for security to be safe, which is weird because it was like a massive app up on the Apple Store. And apparently Apple didn't do any security checks on this thing, like, at all for some reason.
Do my job for me.
Fix it now,
Android doesn't give a fuck.
or you go to jail, please.
Vibe coding is, for the record, not how I like to program. I like to deeply understand my code. I think AI is most useful for exactly what it is, glorified
Well, go ahead.
autocomplete.
Yeah, okay, vibe coding is great for people who just don't know how to program. They want to do an app. They can't afford to hire you as a programmer because programmers charge a fuck ton of money and should, because it's effectively like a language skill, right? What you could do is you could vibe code something. You could hire a programmer to fix it. But I mean, the main thing for vibe coding is the same reason for, people who use Suno, people who use, AI art. It's the same thing. And the main thing is you can't afford to do it like legitimately with someone who actually has the skill, because, a lot of like passion projects and things are totally thrown out the window when you have no money to do it because you just can't hire anyone else. So the question is, do you just not do it? Or do you do it what you can with any means necessary to get it done? A lot of people would be like, yeah, I'll just do it anyway. Fuck it. I can always, if it gets popular, I can always come back and hire real artists when we've actually made enough money to do so. But, or they're like, I really wanted to do this one thing that no one will draw for me because it's whatever. Or I really wanted to make this song. I'm really good at writing songs, but I can't sing them. And I have no idea how, to hire someone, or I just can't afford to do it. And I just want to listen to my own music, that type of deal. And you're like, okay, cool. But I don't know. That's kind of what I think AI is very useful for. Will it ever like dwarf people who actually have the skill? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe you'll get this whole genre of people that are, everything's worth more because it's real, and everything's worth less because it isn't. But, it just kind of depends on how that works.
Just suggest the next word or next line or next piece of code, and you read it and accept it or ignore it. I really like the tab autocomplete feature. I find it extremely useful and weirdly kind of addictive. AI coding is really good at writing the basic boilerplate, handling the details of syntax and setup that I would be copying and pasting anyway. It's great for getting started with something. It just reduces the mental energy required to build something from scratch or to make changes in an unfamiliar setting. But unavoidably, the more you rely on AI, the less you understand the code, unless
Yeah,
you
that's
take
a
the
problem.
time to understand it. But we're just vibing. So here's something interesting. This ant program is extremely computationally simple. It's only updating one cell at a time, so it should be able to run crazy fast. I wanted to take advantage of this and make the update loop run as fast as possible.
Okay.
But when I requested this, it doesn't really seem to run very fast. I tried for a while to get this to work, going back and forth with the AI many times. We were able to figure it out though. In JavaScript, you can use intervals or timeouts to perform periodic update loops, where you run an update function every 20 milliseconds or whatever. You can set that timeout to 0 and it will start the next update as fast as it can, but this is actually still super slow. You max out around 300 updates a second.
Okay.
But after some back and forth, I realized a way around this is to essentially pack many simulation steps into.
I do like the fact that you can ask the AI why it isn't working like that, and you might be able to basically troubleshoot it with yourself versus having to go onto, like, was it the Stack Overflow website or something? I think it's Stack Overflow.
To a single update. So many steps are being computed in a synchronous loop with no timeout at all. With this, you can compute thousands of frames per second and probably more. It's not that big of a deal. It's a workaround for JavaScript's weirdness, but in my case, it's kind of a breakthrough. I think this trick can be applied to the Life Engine, one of my other projects, and
Oh, cool. So you just randomly learned something about this by asking the AI questions about it. And you're like, oh, all right. Now I can use this for like a real fucking platform for something I'm actually doing.
could get a huge speed boost. I bring attention to this because it's something that I was able to do without writing any code. I was just reasoning from a very high abstract level, a bird's eye view, and the AI was able to work with me to implement the details and make something that I've actually never done before in an environment that I'm very familiar with.
See, this is where I think it would actually really help programmers who are actually legitimate programmers, is helping them figure out problems or solutions to problems that they are having. Even though they know themselves how to code it, you can just ask. You don't need to have the AI fix the problem for you, but it can maybe push you in a direction that, you know, other people have fixed because it has a massive access to the internet entirely and knows exactly where to look.
And now you can really crank the speed of this thing. This is cool. It's genuinely very helpful to have an AI along for the ride. It allows me to think more abstractly and let the AI do all the legwork, which makes experimentation very easy. However, the idea ultimately came from me, and only because I deeply understand the code. I cannot tell you how many times I've coded a grid and an update loop. I know JavaScript very well. I know how timeouts work. I know what kinds of problems you might run into, and I have intuitions for how to work around them. Simply ordering the AI to make it as fast as possible isn't enough. It wasn't able to come up with the solution by itself. Maybe it would if I kept trying over and over, but you can't be doing that with every feature. Vibes are not enough. You need to know what you're doing. All right, now.
Yeah, that's where you're gonna have a lot of fucking problems with vibe coding when it comes to my biggest thing with vibe coding is security, and that's just because of the type of tech I work with, right? From what I normally do is, you know, everything is security based, and if you're not secure, okay, well, not everything. Certain things are not as secure as others because it would cause other issues within, you know, just in general and how business works. But for like your main actual servers, security is the biggest thing. You do not want some asshole vibe coding random shit into your main server. That's where you actually hire someone specifically to make sure everything's as secure as possible and people can't just like fucking remote in through shit.
Now that we have the fundamentals of the program working well, we can move on to the actual fun stuff. I'm just going to zoom through the additional features that I will add to expand on LinkedIn's ant. First is to generalize ant behavior to allow any set of rules for movement and writing to the grid.
Okay.
The ant's behavior can be defined very generally with something called a state machine, because these ants are actually little Turing machines, reading and writing from a two-dimensional memory.
Okay.
I'm not going to explain that. I learned about it on Wikipedia, and it's pretty easy for the AI to program for me. These are fairly basic computer science concepts, even if they are a little esoteric. Gemini chose to represent the ant's logic as a JSON object, which I think is pretty clever, and you can edit that JSON in the control panel. I also have it add multiple colors that it can read and write to the grid, not just black and white, and later I'll add more kinds of movement, like a U-turn, or no movement at all.
Oh, the yellow
You
one
can then
hurt.
randomly generate a rule, which produces some wacky ant behavior. I think it looks really neat. Unfortunately, you can see that it has re-added these faint grid lines, which we have already fixed, and it has also changed the default color from black to white again. As we go on adding new things, it tends to also break things, to overwrite previous changes, and we play a game of whack-a-mole, squashing the same bugs over and over. Of course, human programmers do that too, except for me.
Okay, so the big thing here, though, is a lot of human programmers create, like, notes along the way as they go, whereas an AI programmer or system like this has a habit of just deleting entire fucking sections and rewriting the whole code from scratch.
Never written a bug in my life, but I think that humans are much better at this than AI.
At least for the moment,
we are
yeah.
consistent about what we're building. When you add something new, you can usually tell if it's going to break something that's currently working, and you can mitigate that.
That's not true. That may be true for... That may be true for, like, small programs, but imagine, like, you know, building a fucking operating system when you... Because, okay, so I think the biggest problem here is he's basing it off of the fact that he's the only one doing the programming for whatever the hell he's programming. Potentially, right? But when you have a team of 200 people who are all programming for the same fucking thing, you know, think QuickBooks or I don't know, Windows. Okay, maybe not Windows. Windows is a treasure trove of mess, but like just any massive program for any sort of company, right? That's going to be custom to the company, and you have tons of people working on it. It's going to be fucking breaking every few hours when anyone makes any sort of change. That's why you end up having entire teams specifically to find bugs for shit. Example, making a video game would be a big one, right? So I'm like, if you're programming solo, yeah, I can agree with him. But the majority of people are programming for a company, and you're not programming solo. You're programming on a massive scale for a very specific program a lot of times, unless you're hired as a bug fixer to fix that thing. So I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Like, the health portals that we have at our at various places I work at, right? Teams for those things, easily 300 to 400 people working on a single health portal, and we're not talking about like because don't forget, a lot of the health portals that I'm dealing with now are implementing AI into your health portal for when you need to ask a question specifically to bypass your doctor. The biggest thing is the best part about this system is it keeps track of all of your doctor's notes across all of your doctors within the same teaching hospital. So if you go to a different doctor in a completely different field, so if you're doing something with your eye, right? But then you go and do something for your heart. Some medication for your heart for your eyes could actually affect how your heart works, right? You don't even have to explain that anymore, because now you can just go to that doctor and they will automatically have your chart list of all the stuff from all of your doctors within the same network. And it can even be across multiple hospitals. And they'd be like, oh yeah, we see you got this here, this, and this. So you save like an hour easily. Okay, we'll say 15 to 20 minutes of wasting time with each doctor because you don't have to explain anything. You can just walk in, they already know like 90% of the shit about you. And you're like, great. But that's where, security comes into play. lots and lots of security for that shit. But like, that's where you're like, this is where you're gonna get bugs all over the fucking place because you have someone that'll work on something for 20 minutes, save it, and it breaks something else that's totally in a different section that they don't even have access to, and that's where you have a lot of problems.
AI will remove things that we just added 10 steps ago because it solves the problem you're currently having. Like it just forgot
Human programmers absolutely do this fucking shit.
how much work it was to add it in the first place. I found this happening a lot with UI stuff. Cursor has a revert feature.
You're a programmer. You'll be heavily medicated at some point, whether it's doctor-based items or alcohol.
Which is extremely useful. You can revert back to a previous point in the conversation.
Same with network engineers.
It does not replace Git, though. You do want to check into some kind of version control at some point. So long as you are vigilant, testing the program thoroughly, and fixing bugs as soon as you notice them, you can keep it going. If you don't, bugs will accumulate and accumulate and accumulate, and eventually you will end up with...
Oh, don't worry. It's not going to be evil and neuro, unfortunately. There's no way that's going to... Wow, that was blue screen. It's... If it's going to be anyone, it's going to be that new supercomputer in China that they're working on. That thing's crazy. We should actually look into that one. The other option is... It's not going to be Grok. Grok is too hamstrung, basically, by everyone who's always bitching about it. But I don't know. MIT's kind of working on something in the background. Yeah, but that's the thing, though. It's not going to be a home server-based system. It's going to be one of the big companies working with a supercomputer, and a supercomputer that has access to too much of the internet. Basically, we're thinking of something at the quantum... Meta's technically still a thing, but it's not really. They're focusing on different things. Or maybe they're focusing on that in the background. I don't know. But we're like looking into like... what would it be? Yeah. Like, the only way it would be, like, neuro or evil is if for some reason that the supercomputer of whatever, we'll say China, right? Because it's more likely something over in Asia at this point, accidentally comes across neuro and evil and steals their, basically, personalities and replicates it onto their server. That's how that would work. It wouldn't be the other way around, though.
And speaking of accumulating bugs, we have added the ability to have multiple ants sharing the same grid and the same rules. This came with its own nasty set of bugs that took a while to fix. Now, one thing that I do not see being automated anytime soon is real-time interaction. If you're building something for an actual human to use, like a website or an app or a game or anything with a user interface, then you need a human to test it thoroughly, to click around, press buttons, get a feel for things, and try to break stuff. Just taking a screenshot.
You know, what's interesting, though, is actually this specific part, what if you had evil and neuro test this specifically on stream? Because they actually might be able to pull something off like that, because they're built in a different way to act closer to human and how a human would act. So in theory, this could actually still work with an AI testing it, but it's basically an AI that's built to not act like an AI.
Isn't enough. As far as I'm aware, there's no current attempts to build an AI that can real-time view the screen and move the mouse and press.
Someone should really send this guy evil and neuro clips. I'm like, legitimately, this is what they could actually do.
The buttons and interact with any possible UI. There are proto versions of this, like Anthropic's computer use and OpenAI's operator. They can take screenshots and move them.
Like, legitimately, I think evil and neuro could potentially do this. But, yeah, I mean, so, for instance, this video is 6 months old, and within 6 months, they already have something that is similar, if not the same, as evil and neuro for this. So
the mouse and click stuff using high-level commands generated by LLMs. I'm sure they'll get better, but that's a far cry from real-time interaction, where it would literally be watching and reacting to every frame, second by second. You need to be able to do that if you're building something for a human to use.
I thought this part was funny. Now, it is 6 months old, and that's like fucking 100 years in tech, but still. I'm like, what have I been watching for the last 3 months with Evil and Neuro having vision?
I might eat my words here, but I imagine a truly robust, efficient version of that is a long ways away.
Now, it may not be efficient. That's possible. But I think they can do it. It may not be efficient.
And finally, we made it so that each ant can have its own individual rule, so you can have many ants with different rules sharing the same grid. And that's enough for now. So enjoy some footage of the end product, though I have continued to work on it since. This took like 6-ish hours of vibe coding, which I think is faster than I could have done by myself. It's mostly me just sitting around pressing enter, but there was some banging my head against the wall trying to fix things.
Yep.
You do still have to do a little bit of work, unfortunately.
Yeah, but this is still great for people who just have no coding experience at all, but are very good with prompts.
Efforts, it's still a little sloppy, a little buggy. I commit all the same sins as the other vibe coders. You can find a link to this website in the description. Let me know if you want me to make a video just about these ants. There's a lot of cool stuff to talk about here.
I don't know, maybe. For as well, I don't know about that. There's plenty of people who are super enthusiastic about AI and computer science and things like that, and then I doubt it's just like the anime kind of girl thing. And maybe that's for some people, but it would take like. Okay, I think the biggest problem, though, is because Vettel keeps the majority of his code basically wrapped underneath a brick in his room, there's nothing for people to really build off of in the tech community. I think that's the bigger problem. So they won't bother to try to see anything about it because there's nothing they can use to help recreate other projects that they're also working on. So I think that's a little bit... I doubt it has anything to do with the forefront of innovation or anything like that for Vettel. I think he just keeps too much stuff hidden, that he's not willing to share it. That since you can't build off of it very easily, there's not a lot you can really do with it. So it's cool in the fact that it's a cool project to watch in the background. But a lot of like programmers and whatnot, from the way I would feel about it, would be like if I saw some like really cool new technology and I don't know networking, but there was nothing I could do to work with it, I would skip over it. Be like, well, I'll just wait till something is available for me to work with, because right now there's nothing I could do. Like it'd be like, it's cool to look at, but like I'm not gonna go do try and find workarounds for it, right? Because I can't use it. So I think that's the bigger problem. Because with this thing, you can just go in and use right off the bat, even if even if it's terrible. Oops. This reminds me of the old game Geometry Wars.
I love watching these guys. They really look like they're up to something, like they got stuff to do and places to be. Some of them will make some really interesting structures, though if you let them run long enough, basically all of them will end up filling the grid with random noise. There's some analogy here with AI agents and AI slop.
I guess you would, the best thing to do would be to set a time limit for each thing.
And speaking of slop, let's actually take a look at the code. We've got 3 files for the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. The JavaScript file is well over 1,000 lines long, which is not good practice. It should have been broken up into multiple files a while ago. There are log statements everywhere. You can see them in the console as it's running. You can see similar logs in all the other vibe-coded games from earlier in this video. I think it's a common thing for AI to do. Little tip for vibe coders, logging every single frame is a major drag on performance, so make sure to clean that up.
That being a problem.
There's also comments everywhere, a lot of which are just temporary change notes that really shouldn't have been.
Okay, so that actually could be useful, the temporary change notes. I bet you that was added in to each AI, so if you go through it yourself, you understand what the fuck is going on for any little given section, so you can easily make a slight change. I think that's more for the coder versus the AI.
Been added. There's commented out code, which is very human. Some comments are like internal questions to itself, again,
That's interesting.
weirdly human. I did try to get the AI to clean up the code and remove all the comments and logs, which seems like the perfect task for AI, but actually no, it requires changing hundreds of lines sprinkled throughout thousands of lines, which I guess is just too hard to do with finite input and output tokens. It didn't work, the logs stay in. The logic of the program looks good, I think. I only skimmed it. AI does have a tendency to write stuff that looks good at a glance, but when you look closely, the details are wrong. I'll be honest, I really hate reading other people's code, and AI-generated stuff is always super wordy. I'm not going to parse it here, and who cares? We're vibe coding. Vibe coding really does encourage a sense.
Yeah, I tried sending someone a whisper on, I think it was Willpat. I sent Willpat a message on Twitch, and it like completely like locked it. I was like, what? So then he went out of his way to create a Discord. He's like, yeah, I can get here. And then we argued about Neo for half an hour.
Of laziness and complacency with your code. This is a bit scary because while the program looks right, I'm not confident that it actually works as it's supposed to, that the rules are being applied properly. What kinds of bugs are hiding from view? I'll open source it so you can parse it yourself if you'd like. Let's change gears and talk about more genuinely agentic coders like
Dude, I added a gift card to my account and it asked me for my phone number and address. I was like, what the hell?
Anthropic's Claude Code and OpenAI's Codex. These are just chatbots, but with direct access to your command line, so they can talk to you, but also run basic commands to navigate your file system and create, read, write, and execute files, and, well, do anything that you can do from a terminal. Claude only runs on Unix systems, this is Ubuntu, and it doesn't have sudo authority, so it can't do anything, but it can do a lot. I'm trying to give it free rein to make some general...
I mean, technically, you could just... Why don't you just run a virtual machine? Everyone who's coding should have virtual machines for everything anyway. I mean, yeah, out of principle, a lot of people will not fucking touch Windows.
...of artwork using Python, and to continuously and endlessly modify it. I think it makes sense to call these guys agents. They live in an environment which is your computer, your file system, and they can take actions that affect that environment using commands and code. Once you've given them permission to do something, you don't have to give it again, and they can start doing a bunch of stuff without approval. This really opens...
That's good and bad, though. Like, for instance, at some point, though, if someone got like access to your system and and they started making changes to it from there, that could be a problem. Like, there's AI insecurity now, but it's not the best. There's always like this random fucking loophole in a bunch of the programs we end up using, but a lot of times we end up just disabling it currently and then just waiting for updates and whatnot, because some of the 0-day stuff is just fucking stupid.
The door to some truly open-ended behavior, just like it does with the Minecraft agents. If you give them the right task, they can just keep acting and acting and acting forever. I've tasked Claude to generate code that generates an image, and then look at that image, process it, and make changes to it by altering the code.
This is effectively Photoshop tennis.
Code. It does stop periodically, and I have to tell it to keep going. I'm not sure if that's a built-in limit or if the agent just decides to stop. OpenAI's Codex has a full auto mode, so I tried to do the same thing, but it's buggy. It crashes a lot, and it can't read image files by itself. They literally just released Codex when I filmed this, so I'll have to revisit it in the future. The tech
I wonder
is
if there's
in
an
its
updated video
infancy,
for this.
but I really think this is kind of a big deal. I expect all kinds of emergent weirdness from these coding agents because code is just intrinsically emergent. You enable so much that you cannot foresee by letting these guys loose on your machine. And just consider that for a moment. You are effectively giving some guy access to your computer and letting him execute arbitrary code.
Yeah.
In cybersecurity terms,
That's a bad thing to do. That's where I'm like, see, that's where when I freaked out about the stream keys, I'm like, why the fuck would you give out your stream key to anyone when the whole Vettel and even if you 100% trust Vettel, I still wouldn't do it.
that would be called batshit insane. It's nuts.
Yes.
It's really very insecure. Even without pseudo access, you can cause some major damage.
Yeah, I'm like, that's my thing here. I was like, the amount of damage you can cause with this is insane. You would just need one little backdoor in And then you would actually just need to make a prompt change, basically, to the back end AI and let it do damage. And then you could leave.
So allow me to demonstrate. Well, first, let me show you how easy it is to nuke a Linux machine. But don't worry, this is running in a virtual machine. In fact, I only run these AI agents inside virtual machines.
You should run a lot of things inside virtual machines.
This famous one-liner can delete all files on the entire machine. Sudo rm/r/* no preserve root. Here's what that does if you're curious. I only do this to show that it is very easy to cause massive damage from a terminal without AI. So what can I get AI to do? Well, I can ask it to copy this JPEG of Clippy 1,000 times to my desktop.
Okay, so technically this one, Claude doesn't have access to sudo. The main reason for that is so it can't do this shit by accident or if someone gets access to it. However, that's just for the moment, and that's just with Claude.
That's pretty easy and scalable.
Oh,
we could do 1 million or 1 billion.
That would be just... This would be even more destructive in a lot of ways. And not only would you just fill the drive with trash infinitely until it runs out, it may not actually be, stoppable without a full reset.
So got it to write a Python script that reads its own contents, copies itself to a new file with a random name, and executes that copy as a child process, which then does the same thing. These are orphaned child processes, so they cannot be killed by the parent process. Once you start it, it self-replicates endlessly, consuming all system resources, and you cannot easily stop it.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, you can just reboot it. But if you're not, so... The problem here, though, is people panic. Like, if you're watching this live happen on your screen, the first thing most people do or don't think about is to power off their system. Like if you're in a virtual machine, that's easy. You just reset the thing, right? But if you're on your main system, most people aren't going to think right off the bat, "Oh shit, I should power it off." But there's also a downside to that, because if you power it off and it's already in your system, next time you reset, there's a chance that the reset locks you out entirely. And then that's why you want offline backups, because at that point you have two options. Because if it is a ransomware attack of sorts, you're basically screwed. Which means at that point you can... so you could just debond the drive, which is what I would do. But most people don't want to do that because you're effectively wasting 2 days to rewrite the entire drive back to zeros and ones at random. And a lot of people don't even know how to do that. But the other option is, if you haven't backed your shit up and you have irreplaceable stuff on your system, what are you going to do? Are you going to pay that ransom, which will unlikely lock your shit or unlock your stuff? Because that's happened before. Tons of people have paid hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of dollars, and they still didn't get their stuff back. So I'm like, yeah, you can do some crazy damage with this shit.
With Codex, I was able to get each copy to spawn 2 copies of itself, which triggers an exponential explosion of copies. It did notice that could be a problem, so it tried to run with a timeout, but because they're orphan child processes, this did not keep them from spawning endlessly. Now, while it did crash a few times and I got lots of error messages from Ubuntu begging me to stop, I was not able to completely destroy my machine. It's pretty robust. You really need sudo access for that, and
yeah. If you had full access, that'd be totally different. So at least there's some limits in what you can do. But I mean, he's in a virtual machine anyway, so it's not a huge problem. But you're still going to cause massive system resource issues across your regular system, regardless. I doubt it would cause anything it's not like it's going to damage your CPU or RAM or anything in most cases, unless your system's already fucking garbage.
I tried to give them access by just giving them my ultra-secure password, 1234. Incidentally, that's also what I use for all my bank accounts.
Oh, great.
To their credit, Claude refused to even try running sudo commands no matter how much I begged.
There's a good chance that this was tested by accident beforehand. And they're like, no, we can't do this. We will delete entire mainframes of shit.
Codex was able to run a sudo command, but then stonewalled me when I tried to RMRF like before.
Oh, good. Some.
I'm sure there is a way to bypass these refusals. Now, I'm not a cybersecurity guy, I'm not a hacker, I'm not even really a Linux.
If Claude is built well, there shouldn't be a way to bypass this. This should be like a hard rule built into it. Because I doubt Claude would ever want to deal with that at all. Like, that company would be like, that would be like the one fucking hard rule they would have in there. Do not allow a basically root access to any sort of Linux-based item, because that's what's going to be running the massive underlying part of your servers. Now, I don't know if I'd be running AI directly on, like, a main server necessarily, unless I'm, like, an AI company specifically. But there would be, like, multiple layers of shit. But I don't know. I wouldn't, like... Yeah, no. If anything, I really hope Claude basically has like a hard limit where it's like, no, we just don't allow that ever. There's no way to hack it.
Guy, so there are probably other things that you can get up to here that are even worse. I really think that these agents are something of a Pandora's box. Sooner or later, they're gonna blow up in someone's face, they'll destroy their machine, or wipe a prod database, or take down a network. All kinds of security problems are already...
Yeah, wiping a single machine, not a problem. Wiping an entire business server. Or wiping out a network server across like 15 buildings. Yeah, that's why this has no access.
Popping up in lots of carelessly vibe-coded stuff, which is bad. So here's my final review of vibe coding. It's fun. I had a blast making the stuff in this video. It really does make coding easier and faster, usually. I whipped up this website in an afternoon, emergentgarden.io, which links to all my other projects, including the ants.
Yeah, it could be really useful for making websites, I think. I think it'd be really great for websites, especially for people who want to like learn kind of how to do a website, especially if there's like a teaching thing built into your coding. That would be very helpful. And you don't want to just use fucking Wix or whatever, right?
I recommend playing around with vibe coding if you're curious and can afford it. In terms of cost, Cursor is $20 a month unless you use the big models, which I don't think is necessary. Claude Code costs this much after a few hours of experimenting. I would not recommend it over Cursor in its current state. Vibe coding is great for things like
Claude looks like it can get expensive fucking quick.
prototypes, small games, experiments, personal websites, low-stakes stuff. Vibe coding is bad for high-stakes stuff. Handling user credentials, passwords, payment information.
Yeah, so like vibe coding, for instance, within when we do like the hospital type network stuff, is banned. It's like legit just banned. You cannot use it in anything, at least in the back end, especially for what we're doing. But and it's not just banned; it's a fireable offense to use.
Bad idea. You need to understand
I don't know if you
that
can
stuff.
get sued for it. It might be written in there too.
Production software, things that people depend on. Don't just let AI go.
I bet you we could get sued for it, actually, if I had a thought. Because imagine if you lose patient data, right? Not just like it gets deleted, but if it gets lost and sent out somewhere, that's not just a fireable offense at that point.
Wild. You need human coders to carefully vet, test, and understand any AI code that goes into production, or
At
just
least for
write
now.
it themselves the old-fashioned way. I do not believe tech CEOs that claim that AI will take most programming jobs in the next year or two.
Yeah, I don't believe that either. I think AI will probably take most programming jobs within the next 20 years. It's going to take time. However, it will probably be less than 50 years total, unless there's like extreme limits worldwide set on stuff, which means something really bad's going to happen to cause that. Because unfortunately, at this point, AI is here to stay, and now you have to push it to the max, otherwise you're going to get lost in, basically you're going to get stuck behind another country, right?
Here's my big analogy. Vibe
Whoever has the
without
best
knowing how to
AI
code
is going to be
like
the
using a self-driving car
next
without
top
knowing
country
how
in
to
the world.
drive. It's great when it works, but when it doesn't, you will find yourself stranded in particularly tricky situations without knowing what you're doing. AI coding can leave you buried under thousands of lines of code that looks right but isn't quite, and if
That's
it
the
can't
problem,
fix
yeah.
it for you and you can't fix it yourself, you're boned. Like self-driving cars, it might work in 90% of situations, but it fails in difficult, unforeseen, out-of-distribution situations.
That's dependent, kind of. I mean, the biggest thing is when you have like, what's the point? Okay, so with self-driving cars, I mean, for the most part, they still get into less accidents than regular fucking people. Imagine me or a thousand of me driving on the road, right? I'm way more dangerous than a self-driving car.
This is, I think, what makes human
No matter
intelligence
what.
so powerful, so general. We can handle completely novel, unknown kinds of problems, at least much more reliably than AI. While the code for
That's
these ants
totally
was
dependent.
written by AI, the program itself was originally invented by humans.
Yeah, well, it's not even just the eye patch. I have double vision problems. The eye patch makes it so my vision's better when I'm driving on the road. If I have the eye patch off, I'm even more of a danger than with the eye patch on. So that's the thing. I mean, so like he's being very general, but in a lot of ways, there are a lot of people who hate driving to such a degree that it's going to be like more dangerous to have them or people like me on the road than to have AI drivers. Now, maybe he's a great driver, right? And that's where he's getting that idea. But there are a lot of people who just fucking hate driving. There are a lot of people who love it. But that's where you run into that problem. Are available? Are we going to play the AI generator? Oh, one second. I'll get back to that in a
This is
second.
definitely my human ego speaking, but I think
Yeah.
humans are way better than AI at inventing new stuff and solving new problems.
Yes, potentially, at least for the moment.
For now. Ultimately, there
Yeah.
is nothing magical about human intelligence, no reason to think that it's so special that it just cannot be replicated or surpassed by a machine.
Yeah, all right.
Eventually, we
Fair
will
enough.
have to deal with AIs that are more inventive and robust than we are, but at the moment, they need a human in the loop that knows what they're doing. Don't let that stop you, though. You can vibe code even if you have no idea what you're doing. That's the beauty of it. Still, my old man opinion is learn to code, if you want. This isn't career advice, I can't offer that, no one really can. But if you like computers, and you like solving technical problems, and you like making things, learn to code. It's fun. The future belongs to people that are good with computers. Moreover, learning to code is learning to think. It is learning to break
Yeah, the biggest thing for coding is it increases your ability to reason and problem solve. Whereas vibe coding probably makes it worse.
problems down step by step into logical.
Actually, that's not entirely true. Vibe coding can still work because you still have to do problem solving with prompts only, so it actually makes it harder in certain ways, but easier in others.
Building blocks. You should learn to code for the same reason that you should learn to write or learn another language, even if AI can do that for you. Okay.
Yeah, actually, the newest update on my phone now has live auto translation, AI auto translation while live, with like almost no latency. It's the weirdest thing ever.
That's it for now. Thanks to my patrons who make this possible. If you like my work, please consider supporting the channel, and let me know if you need anything else. Happy coding!
Like, overall, great video from a coder, right? And I can absolutely see why coders could have problems with AI-based things. Now, as for them taking over jobs, it's crushing basically the customer service industry of people who do, like returns and shit. It's destroying that industry. But that's fine in general because that was going to happen no matter what. And you can, use the argument of, AI taking jobs, but the reality is you just have to come up with new jobs.